Mad Rabbit, India's finest audio wearable brand, starting at 999.
I was always quite crazy about movies.
Oh.
I grew up, of course, Chennai is a very big movie town. So I used to watch Sound of Music 33 times. And I always wanted to make movies in Hollywood, when I was very young. Though tennis was always the career, movies, films were something that I really wanted to do. In 1990, I met him again at the Cannes Film Festival. And he came up to me and he said, I sent out 800 photographs and you were the only person to call me back. And that was Jean-Claude Van Damme. And we made Double Impact together and first big break.
என்னெல்லாம் மாதிரியான difficulties face பண்ணீங்க initially?
Incredible number of difficulties because everybody wanted to play tennis with me. Nobody wanted to make a movie with me. Indian professional tennis player trying to be a Hollywood producer is not not a good background to make movies.
But Tamil we know you more through genes.
Yes.
7 அதிசயங்கள் songs shoot பண்ண பட்ஜெட்டுக்கு we could direct another film பண்ற மாதிரி. To invest in something like that, அப்போ எப்படி இந்த தைரியம் வந்துச்சு?
I met Shankar who was introduced to me and then he talked to me about the story and then we decided to go ahead and do it and then I met Ash, but it was the largest budget at that time for an Indian film. But I think I'm very happy with the result, Shankar did a great job. AR's music was absolutely wonderful. Sort of we did it in a new way. Motion capture at that time in 1990 was not very well known. We did the twinning effects, which came out very well.
அதுக்கப்புறம் why didn't you continue doing it in Tamil?
First of all, I got very busy in Hollywood. I was making movies with Angelina Jolie and Sandra Bullock and The Rock and Steve Martin, Nicolas Cage, made over 120 movies at this point. So that takes a lot of time and effort and the budgets are very big and, it takes a lot of personal attention.
We've also heard that Rahman sir is your junior in Don Bosco, Ilya.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes, he is my junior in Don Bosco. We won't say how many years my junior, but yes. Of course, Rajini is a family friend and we've been friends for many years. We wanted to give him a bit of a different look, right? And it was the first sort of co-production with Hollywood and, he was the perfect star to do it. Rajinikanth is very easy to make stylish. Then I made another movie with MGM called The Other End of the Line, which Shreya was in.
So as a friend, family friend as well as நீங்க already work பண்ணீங்க அப்படின்றப்போ ரஜினி சார் கிட்ட அதுக்கு அப்புறமா வேற projects பத்தி பேசிருக்கீங்களா?
We haven't actually talked about other projects. We should, no?
Yeah. சினிமாவில் நிறைய நபர்கள்கிட்ட பேசிக்கிட்டு இருக்கோம் பட் ரொம்ப இம்பார்ட்டண்ட்டாக எது ரொம்ப ஹாப்பினஸ் தரும் அப்படின்னா செல்ஃப் மேட் பீப்புள். ஸோ ஐ பிலீவ் யூஆர் அ செல்ஃப் மேட் பர்சன் அண்ட் பல விஷயங்கள் நீங்கள் அச்சீவ் பண்ணிருக்கீங்க. ஸோ யோர் ஸ்டோரி இஸ் கோன் இன்ஸ்பயர் அ லாட் ஆஃப் பீப்புள் ஐ பிலீவ். எஸ்,
தேங்க்யூ. ரொம்ப நல்லா சொன்னீங்க. ஆனால் செல்ஃப் மேட் through my parents.
Wow.
Yes.
This shows how grounded you are because ஏன்னா சினிமா பேக்ரவுண்ட் இல்லாம சினிமாக்குள்ள வர்றது and to accomplish a lot of things it's not a joke. So அது பியூட்டிஃபுல்லா பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கீங்க. So that is why I said you're self-made person with no cinema background in fact.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yes.
Especially in Hollywood.
Yes. As I said, நீங்க சினிமா பேக்ரவுண்ட்லேயே இல்லை அப்படின்றப்போ அண்ட் சைல்ட்ஹுட்ல கூட யோர் ஸ்ட்ரீம் வாஸ் டிஃப்ரெண்ட். நீங்கள் டென்னிஸ் பிளேயர். ஸோ அங்கேருந்து எப்படி இந்த ஷிஃப்ட் ஆச்சு, ப்ரொடக்ஷன் பண்ணணுன்ற இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் எப்படி வந்துச்சு? How did this journey start?
My parents first of all put my brothers and myself into tennis. Tennis number family business. So we were all Wimbledon tennis players and all that. Los Angeles invite Pananga to play for the Los Angeles tennis team.
Lovely.
And in 1978, I won the World Team Tennis Championship, which was a real turning point. And then in the early 80s, I got involved with the entertainment industry. And I knew nothing about the entertainment space at all, movies, television. And I was sort of the only brown person in Hollywood. Ella white. Every white person was around me. So it was very difficult, very intimidating. But the first 10 வருஷத்துக்கு I think it's been it was a extremely difficult task. And then I made a few movies. And then I met a young actor, unknown actor, because I had seen his photograph. I called him to the office, and we tried to make a movie together. We couldn't make a movie, and then 1990, I met him again at the Cannes Film Festival, and he came up to me and he said, I sent out 800 photographs, and you were the only person to call me back, and that was Jean-Claude Van Damme. And we made Double Impact together, and first big break for both of us. And he became a star. I became a producer of note. So, and then it went from there.
நீங்க வின்னிங் விக்டரிஸ்ல இருக்கிறப்போ இந்த கேம்ஸ்ல டென்னிஸ்ல வந்து யூ வர் வின்னிங் அ லாட் ஆஃப் ட்ராஃபீஸ் இந்த டைம்ல யூ நீடட் டு சேஞ்ச் யுவர் கரியர் அப்படின்றப்போ ஐ திங்க் இட் மஸ்ட் பி அ வெரி ஒரு வைல்ட் டிசிஷன் டு டேக் இல்லையா வாட் அந்த ஒரு பர்டிகுலர் இன்சிடென்ட் தட் மேட் யூ டேக் த டிசிஷன் டு சேஞ்ச் யுவர் ஸ்ட்ரீம் இன் ஃபேக்ட்
I was always quite crazy about movies.
Oh.
I grew up, of course, Chennai is a very big movie town, right? So I used to watch Sound of Music 33 times. And I always wanted to make movies in Hollywood, even when I was very young. And so I think it was in the blood. Though tennis was always the career, movies, films were something that I really wanted to do. And it was the dream to go to Hollywood and make movies there. And it was a time when nobody else had done it. So it was charting new ground,
Okay. Yeah.
And it was amazing. It's been an amazing ride. As I said, first 10 years was very, very difficult. I was wondering why I stopped playing tennis. This, it's been an extraordinary run.
என்னெல்லாம் மாதிரியான டிஃபிகல்ட்டிஸ் ஃபேஸ் பண்ணீங்க இனிஷியலா
Oh, incredible number of difficulties because everybody wanted to play tennis with me. Nobody wanted to make a movie with me. Yeah. So I was known as a Wimbledon tennis player. So that was my calling card. And that was also a problem. So nobody took me seriously. Indian professional tennis player trying to be a Hollywood producer is not not a good background, to make movies. So it took me a while for people to take me seriously. People at that time in the diversity, black, brown, all of this was not necessarily something that Hollywood welcomed. So there were many obstacles. And these are things that one has to overcome.
So நிறைய படங்கள் ஹாலிவுட்ல நீங்க வந்து ப்ரொடியூஸ் பண்ணிருக்கீங்க பட் தமிழ்ல we know you more through jeans.
Yes.
So jeansல வந்துட்டு I don't know அந்த டைம்ல எவ்வளோ பெரிய ஒரு I will say it is a gut feeling for you to do that film at that point of time because எவ்வளோ பெரிய பட்ஜெட் நீங்க ஒரு இன்டர்வியூல சொல்லியிருந்திருப்பீங்க that அந்த 7 அதிசயங்கள் சாங்ஸ் ஷூட் பண்ண பட்ஜெட்டுக்கு we could direct another film ன்ற மாதிரி. So it must be a huge amount இல்லையா to invest in something like that. அப்போ எப்படி இந்த தைரியம் வந்துச்சு?
When I had made Double Impact, I had made a couple of other movies in Hollywood. And ரொம்ப nostalgic-ஆ இருந்தது. I wanted to come back and do something in India and especially in the South. So when I came here and I started to talk to various directors and all that, then I met Shankar, who was introduced to me, and then he talked to me about the story, and then we decided to go ahead and do it. And then I met Ash here. She was in Chennai, and so I met Ash and her mother, and then it all sort of worked out from there. And Rahman's an old friend, so it came together very nicely. But it was the largest budget at that time for a Indian film. But I think, I'm very happy with the result, So Shankar did a great job. AR's music was absolutely wonderful, Aishwarya and Prashant were terrific. Great cast, with, Radhika and Nasir and everybody. So it really was a great experience.
So வந்துட்டு நீங்க நிறைய சொல்லியிருக்கீங்க இந்த மாதிரி அந்த படத்துக்காக அந்த சாங் எஸ்பெஷலி ஒவ்வொரு லொகேஷன்ஸ் போயிட்டு பெர்மிஷன் வாங்கி இட் வாஸ் அ பிக் டாஸ்க் ஃபார் யூ டு ஷூட். எனக்கு என்னன்னா அவ்வளோ எஃபர்ட் எடுத்து அவ்வளோ பெரிய படம் ஒரு பெரிய பட்ஜெட்ல பண்ணிட்டு இட் வாஸ் a huge success for you. அதுக்கப்புறம் why didn't you continue doing it in Tamil? ஏன் பண்ணல?
first of all, I got very busy in Hollywood.
Okay.
So I was making movies with Angelina Jolie and Sandra Bullock and The Rock and Steve Martin, Nicolas Cage. A lot of actors who then became friends, and and I've made over 120 movies at this point. So that takes a lot of time and effort, and the budgets are very big, and it takes a lot of personal attention. Um, you know, Tamil movies or Hindi movies also take a lot of personal attention. And so this is two sides of the world. To try to spend 2 years here and 2 years there during the same 2 years is very difficult. So it's sort of choices that one makes. I keep very close touch with India. I always talk to a lot of filmmakers. Also, I hosted some TV shows. We did Gateway to Hollywood, which a young director that I chose has done quite well from that. His name is Bijoy Nambiar.
Oh, okay.
So Bijoy won my show and came out of that, and he has done quite well. We did Chance of a Lifetime, which was about documentary filmmakers and the United Nations, and so we had a great time doing that. So we did a lot of unscripted shows that discovered a lot of young talent, but you know. To spend 2 years here was going to be a little tricky.
And we've also heard that Rahman sir is your junior in Don Bosco, Ilya.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes, he is my junior in Don Bosco. We won't say how many years my junior, but yes.
ஆமா அப்போ வந்து ஒரு ஜூனியர் கூடவே ஒரு பெரிய படம் ஒர்க் பண்றோம் அப்படின்றப்போ that must be a little or interesting thing to do இல்லையா?
Yeah, no, it was fantastic, and he's also so talented, that it was wonderful to work with him. He in that particular case, and we've worked together after that as well. And we've talked about working together quite a bit. So hopefully we'll do another movie together. But he's just a really talented guy who's able to do music that's sort of global.
Yeah,
So it was great to work with him on Jeans. Was the perfect one.
But எனக்கு என்ன any particular incident that still knocks your mind that you have crossed இதெல்லாம் தாண்டி தான் நான் வந்திருக்கேன் I am today நான் இவ்வளவு பெரிய ஆளா இருக்கேன்னா இந்த மாதிரி குட்டி குட்டி விஷயம் கூட நடந்திருக்கு அப்படின்ற மாதிரி remarkable incidents இருக்குதா?
There's many incidents, but most of the incidents are tied to how do you overcome obstacles. I think willpower is probably the main thing. Mental attitude is probably most important. So I think it was Mahatma Gandhi who said, indomitable will is what is the most important thing, right? So strength doesn't come from physical capacity; it comes from indomitable will. So the will to win, same thing that comes from tennis. Playing 5 sets, trying to figure out a way when it's very, very close or when you're down to come out of it. So there are, in our business especially, there are ups and downs. When you're trying to make it, everything is down, right? So it takes a lot of willpower, a lot of sleepless nights.
Oh, okay.
But the sun always comes out in the morning.
ரஜினி சாரோடைய ஹாலிவுட் படம் நம்மளோட பிளட் ஸ்டோன்ல வந்துட்டு அவருடைய லுக்ஸ் ஹேர் ஸ்டைல் எஸ்பெஷலி வாஸ் சேஞ்ச்ட். முன்னாடி வரைக்கும் வேற ஒரு ஹேர் ஸ்டைல் இருந்துச்சு, அதுக்கப்புறமா அவருடைய ஹேர் ஸ்டைல் மாத்துனாங்க. தட் வாஸ் வெரி நைஸ் ஸ்க்ரீன்ல பாக்குறப்போ. அப்படின்றப்போ யூ ஹேட் எனி கான்ட்ரிபியூஷன்ஸ் அப்படின்றத கேட்கறதுக்காக.
Yeah. We and of course Rajini is a family friend, and we've been friends for many years, and he was a star even then, and obviously is an extraordinary star. We wanted to give him a bit of a different look,
yeah.
right? And it was the first sort of co-production with Hollywood, and he was the perfect star to do it, and it was a success, and we did very well with it. So he was very, again, talk about somebody who's extremely professional. He was fantastic, So it was really, that was a pleasure. Um, then I made another movie with MGM called The Other End of the Line, which Shreya was in. She was in her very early days of her career. Uh, and then Ash, of course. So, I've had some experience with Indian stars and directors, which has been great fun.
சார் நம்ம ரஜினி சாரோட ஹேர் ஸ்டைல் பத்தி பேசணும். அதோட ரெஃபரன்ஸ் எங்கேருந்து எடுத்தீங்க? பிகாஸ் அது மாதிரி அது வரைக்கும் நாங்க பார்த்தது இல்ல ரஜினி சார. அந்த லுக் எப்படி நீங்க டிசைன் பண்ணீங்க?
Hollywood படத்துலலாம் you have these great hairstylists and makeup people who can look at certain actors and come up with different suggestions. Okay. So at the Pathu, we were, a lot of discussions before it came together, but tried a couple of things and this one it worked out.
ஆமா, ஒரு ஸ்டைலிஷ் ஹீரோவை இன்னும் நீங்க ஸ்டைலிஷா வந்து காமிச்சிருந்தீங்க.
ஆமா, but Rajinikanth is very easy to make stylish.
Style icon, sir.
He's already a style icon. So
yeah. So as a friend, family friend, as well as நீங்க already work பண்ணீங்க அப்படின்றப்போ ரஜினி சார் கிட்ட அதுக்கு அப்புறமா வேற ப்ராஜெக்ட்ஸ் பத்தி பேசியிருக்கீங்களா?
We haven't actually talked about other projects. We should, no?
Yeah. I mean, I talked about the style and his looks and his everything in the film because back in those days, you were able to pull off such a good look and the characterization was very nice. So, I think you can do magic in it.
Now everything is magic, isn't it?
Of course.
It's all magic.
Yes.
People are all looking different on screen these days, so you can do pretty much anything. And now with AI coming, there's going to be a whole new set of rules and problems also, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, so you are a producer who has been open எப்படின்னா நிறைய அந்த டெக்னாலஜிஸ்க்கு நிறைய ஸ்பேஸ் கொடுக்குற ஒரு பர்சன். ரைட் ஃப்ரம் ஜீன்ஸ்ல இருந்து ஒவ்வொரு படம் நீங்க ஒர்க் பண்ணதுமே வந்துட்டு லாட் ஆஃப் டெக்னாலஜி. ஸோ அந்த ஒரு ஓப்பன்னஸ் இருக்கணும் இல்லையா? அது ஒர்க் அவுட் ஆகும். அது ஒரு சேலஞ்ச் தான் அஃப்கோர்ஸ் பிகாஸ் லாட் ஆஃப் பீப்புள் வர் நாட் ஓப்பன் டு இட் அட் தட் பர்டிகுலர் டைம். இப்போ எஸ் அஃப்கோர்ஸ் அதுதான் வேர்ல்ட் அப்படின்னு மாறி இருக்கு.
Actually Jeans was after Double Impact, Anna. So Double Impact was Twins.
Okay.
Which was sort of, we did it in a new way. Motion capture at that time in 1990 was not very well known. So we did motion capture at that time. We did the twinning effects, which came out very well. But Jean-Claude was a very hardworking actor. I mean, he was, again, I was very lucky with him. He's stayed a very close friend for all these years. When I released my autobiography, he flew down from Brussels to promote my book here with me in Delhi and Bombay and all. So most of my, I've been lucky that the actors and directors I've worked with have remained good friends. But technology has, in some ways, it has taken over the business, entertainment business, because everything becomes much easier with technology. If you want the sunrise, you go on the sunset, you want the full moon, you want it dark, you want it light, but it also makes you a little bit lazy. You can do everything in post-production, right? So, in 20 years ago, you had to do it all, there on set in camera, right? Okay. So if it's used properly, it can be fantastic. Sometimes it's used as a crutch, as a sort of something that instead of something, we'll do this later.
Yeah.
So then it's generally not as effective because still I feel that the emotion when you're doing it on set is very different. So you see great performances, they generally are in the moment, So that I think is interesting to see. But technology has taken over our business. I mean, the platforms are all they're all tech companies, right? They're not, and all the programming and movies and television is content, right? So it's a very different world that we are living in. So content is is sort of movies and television, but it's not. When you look at motion pictures on a big screen, you know, those are that's what I grew up wanting to make.
ஸோ இப்போ என்னன்னா ப்ரொடக்ஷன் பற்றி தான் we need to learn a lot of things from you because as you said 120 films சாதாரணமாக பண்ணி முடிச்சிட்டீங்க. ஸோ how is this? ஏன்னா ஒன்றுமே தெரியாமல் அந்த ஃபீல்டில் வந்து மேபி நாங்கள் எக்ஸல்னு சொல்லுவோம், நீங்கள் அதை அக்ரி பண்ணிப்பீங்களான்னு தெரியல. யூர் எக்ஸெல்லிங் இன் யோர் ஃபீல்ட் அப்படின்ற போது how did you learn things? இது எப்படி ப்ராப்பராக பண்ணுறதுன்ற ஒரு சேனல் பண்ணுற ஒர்க் எப்படி நடந்துச்சு பர்சனலி?
Everything is a learning experience. One continues to learn in our industry. It's always a learning experience, and you learn from the people you work with. I had wonderful crew, terrific actors, interesting directors. Most of them I got along with. It's always, as a producer, you do everything, right? You find the screenplay, you find the director, you find the actors to work with, you put it all together, and then ultimately you release the film. Yes. So I'm the kind of producer that takes everything through from start to finish, okay, right? On every movie that I make. So, you learn new things with each film. Some are smaller, some are bigger. You learn to work with actors, most importantly, which is like being a psychiatrist. Like being a therapist. Okay. So you have to work in a way that I think, because that is the most important thing towards the production, because working with the actors and the director, you're a little bit of a parent. You're a therapist. You're a lot of different things on the set, and so that's these are all learning experiences. And it is, I think, being from India helps. You have I'm fairly calm as a person. Any anxiety is held inside. So I'm pretty calm, and where a lot of people are up and down, I'm pretty. I can take most things. So making a movie always has a lot of tension involved, but it's, I think, from the standpoint of production, I think technology is one side. The other side is just making sure your preparation and everything is perfect. Yeah. Or as Denzel Washington said, it's progress, not perfection. But it's in every movie you make progress. You make you educate yourself more. So I think my movies got better. I think we made a lot of I've been proud of many of the movies that I made. Movies have grossed over $2 billion, so they've done pretty well. So it's been an interesting time, but production is something which is collaborative. Okay. So you really have to have a great relationship with your director, with your stars, with your key crew, especially, and I think with your caterers. You need great food. You need great food on the set. It's very important. When everybody eats well, they feel good about themselves.
So according to you, maybe what is the ஒரு பெரிய பட்ஜெட் அப்படின்னா எதை வச்சு கன்சிடர் பண்ணுவீங்க? What slab do you consider it's a big budget அப்படி சொல்லுங்க?
Budgets have changed
okay.
Over the years. So I've made movies as small as $1 or $2 million, and I made movies for over $100 million. So the budgets for movies have grown a lot in the last 5 to 10 years, but always big movies are expensive. Ghost Rider was an expensive movie because we had 2D, 3D. We had visual effects, all over the place. We had, it was a Marvel film, so all of the stuff that went with that. We shot on locations, many different locations. So that was a big budget film. Uh, Movies like Shop Girl, which I did with Steve Martin and Claire Danes, who's on Homeland, who's the lead on Homeland, or 99 Homes with Andrew Garfield and Michael Shannon, Laura Dern. Those were smaller movies, but they won all the awards.
Yeah.
Right? They won a whole bunch of awards. So I like to mix, movies. I love action and I love comedies, but I do like movies that are dramas as well. That if you read a script and you feel there's something unique, then that is something that I enjoy doing also.
இப்போ தமிழ் சினிமால or generally in India, there are a lot of big budget films. இப்போ
Yeah.
recent daysல நிறைய big budget films பண்ணிட்டு இருக்காங்க. There's a lot of way and scope for that also. But நீங்க ஒரு வெளியில இருந்து பார்க்குறப்போ do you think the money is being utilized properly? Because இவ்ளோ பட்ஜெட் வந்து இதுக்கு செலவு பண்ணும், இதுக்கு இவ்ளோனா they will ஒரு தோராயமா ஒன்று சொல்லுவாங்க. பட் வெளியில இருந்து பார்க்குறப்போ as a producer, do you think the money is being spent really well in an organized manner for a film?
I think that is tough for me to say, but because I don't know the exact numbers.
Okay.
Making a movie is not about budgets as much as it is about story and emotion. So if I can capture the emotional content, and and the heart of my audience, I think the budgets can vary. Depending, of course, you need wonderful actors and all that, but you don't need big, showy things as long as it's emotionally satisfying. Unless you're doing a Marvel movie, which is only about, visuals, then it's a little bit different. But even amongst the Marvel movies, if you see the first Iron Man or the first uh, Black Panther or, the first Guardians of the Galaxy, the first ones, they were the best ones, and they were quite emotional. The sequels were generally not as good, So big budget movies sometimes sacrifice, emotion and character and drama and development because they're focused a lot on visual effects, and when you look at the last Tom Cruise movie, the Maverick film, he's such a smart actor and such a smart filmmaker because he has quite a lot to do with his films, that the emotional content made the movie what it is, And similarly, when you look at the hits from last year, which, nowadays there are very few hits, it's the movie business is having a tough time. My very, very dear friend, Barbara Broccoli, makes the Bond movies, right? She's one of my closest friends. And so they made the movie where the last one was where Daniel Craig dies in the end and, Bond dies in the end. And, there was real emotion to it. And the movie went through the roof, Bond movies always do well, but some of them do better than others. And those are the ones that actually are super emotional, So there was that one, and then there was Oppenheimer, and Barbie was a little bit different. But each those 3 or 4 movies were the ones that actually held the box office up last year, and the kinds of movies that we made in the 90s, 2000s, 2010, 2015, right before the streamers came along, I think, there were more hit movies at that time, So when I made Bringing Down the House with Queen Latifah and Steve Martin and all these people, it did extraordinarily well, but today it'll probably be a streaming film, So the marketplace has changed so much today that one has to sort of, guide your career in a slightly different way. So as we talk about younger filmmakers, we'll talk more about that.
Yeah. So நீங்களே லீட் கொடுத்துட்டீங்களே யங் ஃபில்ம் மேக்கர்ஸ்க்கு வந்து இப்போ இவ்வளோ டாஸ்க் இருக்கு நீங்களே சொல்றீங்க இப்போ ஒரு சின்ன டவுன்ஃபால் இருக்கு மூவி பிஸ்னஸில் அப்படின்றப்போ how will people tackle it? யங்ஸ்டர்ஸ் வர்றப்போ what knowledge should they actually have? என்ன எத்திக்ஸோட வரணும்?
I think the idea of having the willpower hasn't changed,
Okay.
but the idea of persevering hasn't changed. The idea of thinking positive hasn't changed, but the business and has changed completely in over the last 7, 8, 9 years. You know, and then the pandemic hasn't helped, and strikes haven't helped, and all that. But but the idea of making a theatrical film has changed because there is too much that you can watch on TV. There is too much that you can watch on your cell phone. You know, social media has been taken to a different level. So the competition is not the other movie in the theater like it used to be, but it is all these other things, Netflix, Amazon, Apple, social media, and Facebook, and all these things that. Uh, so you really have to make movies that people are willing to take the time, go out and see, and enjoy it. It's a harder job today, and I think it shows in the box office, and it shows in both here and in America as well. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
ஸோ as we talked about பாக்ஸ் ஆஃபீஸ் அப்படின்னோடனே எனக்கு ஒன்று ஞாபகம் வருது. தமிழ் சினிமா, நாட் ஜஸ்ட் தமிழ், இன் சவுத் இந்தியா திஸ் இஸ் கல்ச்சர். ஒரு படம் வந்துருச்சு அப்படின்னா பாக்ஸ் ஆஃபீஸ் கலெக்ஷன் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு ஆஃப்டர் த மூவி காட் ரிலீஸ் ஒரு 2-3 டேஸ்க்கு அப்புறமா தெல் பி ரெகுலர் அப்டேட்ஸ் கொடுப்பாங்க. இவ்வளோ கோடி வசூல் பண்ணியிருக்கு, தேஸ் இவ்வளோ வசூல் அப்படின்ற மாதிரி. Do you do that in Hollywood as well? இவ்வளோ கலெக்ஷன் இருக்கு அப்படின்னு do you release it?
Oh, yeah. We get. It depends if it's my movies. I get it on a practically every few hours. But if it's general information on my friends' movies, I get a lot of information on as well. But normally the box office is every day or twice a day. You can pretty much see where what a movie is doing. It started there. Adukapra da inga vandadu, where they have the now they have the box office results.
Yeah.
So first weekend, global box office, all of that. So same thing there also. It started with the day and date. When people released it worldwide on the same day. Right?
Okay.
So things have all sort of evolved, and accounting is very straightforward as far as Hollywood goes. Accounting is very straightforward. You pretty much get a clear idea of what the movie is doing, but the idea of what it sells for television and video and all of that is still, I mean, you have to count on the studios, and you have to count on
ஓகே.
all of the.
ஸோ இப்போல்லாம் வந்து ஆடியன்ஸ் ஃபேன்ஸுக்கே வந்து பாக்ஸ் ஆஃபீஸ் ஒரு ப்ரெஷர் கொடுத்துருக்கு, எவ்வளோ கலெக்ட் பண்ணியிருக்கு நம்மளோட ஹீரோ அப்படின்ட்டு. ஆஸ் அ ப்ரொடியூசர், டஸ் தேட் கிவ் யூ மோர் ப்ரெஷர் டு ஒர்க்?
Yeah. Box office is always very important. Right? Unless you're making a movie for streamers or something, in which case it's very difficult to judge. They have all these rankings and all this, but nobody knows what that means necessarily. But I think box office, it's very clear. Yeah. So the movie is either a success or a failure or somewhere
Mediocre.
in between.
Yeah.
But it's and I think that's very good. I like that pressure.
You
so
like
it makes
it?
you, it makes you work harder.
Okay.
Makes you work harder. I think, and especially if you can make a movie that's a reasonable budget and it does really well. Inga, I think Malayalam movies they make at very reasonable budgets, and they end up doing really well. Many of them. I've screened movies at my house that are Malayalam movies that came for the Oscars. I think Vetrimaran's movie was one of the movies
Vidudalai?
that, so I screened that at my house. He was there. He brought the film. And I had some people. We have a really beautiful screening room at home, so we generally screen these films. A couple of the Telugu actors had come as well. Rana, Dagupati, who's a friend as well, who's lovely. So his movie was obviously a big hit with, and so you have all these big hits and you have wonderful actors and directors, but everybody deals with the same pressures these days. You all have the same sort of, you're fighting against platforms and social media and all of that.
யூ've டன் so much of ஹாலிவுட். அப்போ இப்போ வந்து தமிழ்ல பண்ணல அப்படின்றப்போ நான் அதை கேட்குறேன். உங்களுடைய மைண்ட் செட் வந்து ஃபில்ம் அப்ரோச்சஸ்ல எப்படி இருக்கு? வென் யூ மீட் இந்தியன் டிரெக்டர்ஸ், எஸ்பெஷலி வென் யூ செட் நான் வந்து வெற்றிமாறன் மீட் பண்ணேன் அப்படின்னு சொல்றப்போ, அவங்களுடைய மைண்ட் செட், அவங்களுடைய அப்ரோச் டுவர்ட்ஸ் சினிமா இஸ் குவைட் டிஃப்ரெண்ட். அவங்களுடைய ஸ்டோரி டெல்லிங் மெத்தடாக இருக்கலாம், அவங்களுடைய ஐடியாலஜிஸாக இருக்கலாம், எல்லாமே டிஃப்ரெண்ட்டாக இருக்கு. ஸோ இவங்களோட கதைகள்லாம் பார்க்குறப்போ, வென் யூ see their movies, what they try to represent and what they try to show the people, அதை பார்க்குறப்போ what do you think in what do you generally feel about it?
One of the things with having made movies for 40 years now
Yeah.
is I've met 40 years of Indian directors.
Oh, lovely.
So from Subhash Ghai, who's a very close friend, to Shankar Kapoor, to all the others, Karan Johar and all of them from the north, and then in the south as well, Shankar and all the others. Um, I think there are many talented directors. Many of them like making smaller films. Many of them like making bigger films. But clearly there is a lot of talent, The question always with Indian cinema is, who are you making the movie for? Are you making it for India? Are you making it for a global audience? Are you trying to please both? And it's a very difficult choice always. So I think many of the directors today are trying to break out, and they struggle with how to do that and what to do, because the stories that work in Middle America, in Iowa or in Kansas, is very different than stories that work in Madurai or right in Trichy. So it's a balance that you have to come up with. That is. That every foreign country deals with. Any country that has a foreign language deals with that. The Chinese have been able to do it in a different way because of their martial arts. The one country that has done probably the best job amongst any foreign country is South Korea. So they've made both movies and television that have been able to translate. They made a movie called Parasite. They did Snowpiercer. They did Squid Game. They did, so they've done things that have transcended their culture and all of that, but in the local language. And they've done a pretty good job.
ஸோ என்னதான் பெரிய டெக்னாலஜி அவ்வளோ பல விஷயங்கள் பற்றி நீங்கள் பேசினாலுமே, ஐ see the word emotion being used in I think every of your answers. You're a very emotionally bonded person, I believe, and family bonded person. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
both of those things, yes.
Yeah.
Both. Definitely emotion and family is very much a part of who I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Both with my parents and my brothers and my wife and kids, of course.
okay, yeah. So your mother is your very, or she's an inspiration to you.
For the whole family, yes. She was certainly the inspiration behind our tennis careers. And when I switched to film, my parents were not crazy about it, but they, as always, they were very supportive.
Good that you had such parents.
Yeah. They were very open-minded, very supportive, and they were, needless to say, very worried because I didn't know anybody, no family in the business, but I already had friends from tennis and actor friends and things who had come to watch me play in Los Angeles. So Sidney Poitier, Charlton Heston were all friends that used to come and play. We played tennis and stuff. So it was very difficult in one way, but the atmosphere was very intoxicating.
இப்போ வந்து உங்களோட பொண்ணு வந்து உங்களோட பிசினஸ்ல she's being a very good support அப்படின்னு கேள்விப்பட்டோம், and
she's extremely smart. My daughter, her name is Priya, and she is I think she she sort of gives me a whole new life in making movies. So it's yeah. So she's non-stop. She's incredibly focused. So it'll be she you know she's a real go-getter. I mean, she'll be running the world one day.
Glad that Priya is doing that because இவ்ளோ கஷ்டப்பட்டு பில்ட் பண்ண ஒரு விஷயத்த வந்து அத எடுத்துட்டு போறதுக்கு இன்னொருத்தங்க வேணும் கண்டிப்பா. அண்ட் அத அவங்க அழகா பண்றாங்க அப்படின்றப்போ இட் இஸ் குட் டு ஹியர்.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, the girls are so incredibly focused and smart these days. You know, it's a new generation of uh, working girls and women, and I think in many ways they've sort of taken over. You know, and I'm very proud of her. I'm very proud to see what she's doing, and she's she and my son are a very good mix of East and West, because they come and go to India, and they are very, they nothing like having had grandparents' influences and all of that, in their younger days. It's the old, saying about show me, give me a person for the first 15 years and I'll show you what they become. So so they are very, very a great combination.
ரீசெண்டா வந்து வி ஸ்போக் டு டிரெக்டர் வினோத் அப்படின்ட்டு கொட்டுக்காலியோடைய டிரெக்டர். ஸோ அவர் என்னன்னா மதுரை பூக்கடையில இருந்து பர்லிங்டன் போன ஒரு ஸ்டோரி. அவருடைய படம் வந்துட்டு காட் லாட் ஆஃப் அவார்ட்ஸ் இன் பர்லிங்டன் ஃபிலிம் ஃபெஸ்டிவல்ஸ். ஸோ அந்த மாதிரி உங்களுடைய கதை ஃப்ரம் ஸ்டர்லிங் ரோட்.
From Sterling Road to Wimbledon to Hollywood. Yes,
Hollywood.
Yes.
Another fascinating story, of course.
It's been a great journey.
நிறைய டிரெக்டர்ஸ் கூட as you said 40 years நீங்க still இந்தியால இருக்கிற நிறைய டிரெக்டர்ஸ் கூட you're in touch அப்படின்றப்போ lot of people must have approached you in fact with stories. So near futureல யார் கூடயாவது collaborate பண்றதுக்கான talks போயிட்டு இருக்கா?
We have not really. There are a couple of directors from the north that we are discussing with. There are, I get, directors who come to see me all the time, and actors also who want to pitch certain stories and talk about things that are generally not only in Tamil or Hindi or Telugu or whatever, but also something that can translate globally, because that's the way they see me. Because if they're only doing it for here, then that's a little different. So we have all these discussions constantly, and I think more and more Indian filmmakers are trying to reach out, to doing something global, and I think it's starting to be more and more discussed. The discussions are a little different than it was 20 years ago. I used to have the same discussions with actors and directors. The discussions were very different 20 years ago, and today they are more about, how do we, make movies that work East and West, and not just visual effects movies that thing, but also something that is that strikes an emotional sort of chord, and not Slumdog Millionaire. I mean, not necessarily something that only shows India in a particular light, which I'm far less interested in. I'm much more interested in showing India the way it is today, which is I would say one of the fastest moving, most progressive sort of countries, both socially, economically, all of that, and that has not been seen on film, because still you see in Western newspapers, you see, all you see is poor people on the streets and this and that. We have poverty and homelessness in Los Angeles now, so it's but that's not what you see when you
exactly.
You see palm trees and beaches and and the Hollywood sign.
They
right?
only show the fancy part of it.
Right. And when you see Google in San Francisco or Palo Alto, you see a great campuses, this and that. In San Francisco, you have a lot of homelessness. So I think the portrayal of India, the time has come for it to change globally. And I think it is now is the time over the next 10 years as you have great things going on.
நம்ம பேசினப்போ வெற்றிமாறன் சார் மீட் பண்ணியிருக்கோம், இந்த மாதிரி டிரெக்டர்ஸ்லாம் மீட் பண்றாங்க அப்படின்றப்போ as we spoke அவங்களுடைய ஐடியாலஜி டிஃப்ரெண்டா இருக்கு. அந்த மாதிரி ஸ்டோரிஸோட அப்ரோச் பண்ணாங்கன்னா will you be ready to accept it? அது நீங்க ப்ரொடியூஸ் பண்றதுக்கு?
Yeah, I think, again, you're talking about talent. Mani Ratnam makes great movies. I mean, Shankar makes wonderful films, and there are others who make good movies. So it all, for me, it ultimately will come down to an idea and, something that I feel can
Get connected to.
get connected to, and where a global audience can get connected to. And I haven't yet heard that.
Okay.
But would love to.
ஹோப்ஃபுல்லி சீக்கிரமா அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு கதையை உங்களை அப்ரோச் பண்ணணும் நாங்கள் ஆசைப்படுறோம். அன்டவுட்லி வெரி வெரி இன்ஸ்பைரிங். தேங்க்யூ ஸோ மச். இவ்வளோ நேரம் நிறைய இன்சைட்ஸ் ஷேர் பண்ணதுக்கு, உங்களுடைய பர்சனல் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் ஜேர்னி எல்லாத்தையுமே ஷேர் பண்ணது. ஒன் கைண்ட் ரிக்வெஸ்ட், ப்ளீஸ் ஒர்க் வித் அஸ். தமிழில் நிறைய படங்கள் பண்ணுங்க.
Kataima. We will do it. And thank you. It's a pleasure being here with you, and you made it very easy.
Thank you so much. Nice meeting you. Thank you.
Mad Rabbit, India's finest audio wearable brand, starting at 999.